We have next on deck, we have one of your very own. He's a dentist, a father, a vintage Triumph and British bike enthusiast. He came into motorcycles later in life and for some reason, chose vintage Triumph motorcycles of all things. Who could it be? A strange and odd path, but he loves the motorcycle community, the people, and the lifestyle, and has given him the purpose and a community to grow with and build into. Would you please welcome to our lovely little stage up here, Chris Heck.
Thanks. I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna wing this, so I don't really have, Dave was telling me how nervous he was. I do a lot of public speaking, so this doesn't really bother me at all, but I came into motorcycles late in life, I think, in the grand scheme of things. I rode my first motorcycle at 32 years old. I don't think that's probably a very common thing, but certainly there may be some people here that had a similar experience. I just remember as a child, there was a kid that lived a street over from my house. He was I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years older, and he had some sort of mini bike. I didn't know anything about motorcycles. I mean, I was probably 7 or 8 or 9 years old, maybe. He, probably a Z50 or something, and I saw it go fast and make noise, and I want to do that. And of course, not growing up in a family that does anything really automotive or mechanical or motorcycle or whatever, pretty standard middle class Midwestern family. No, that's dangerous. I didn't realize it until much later that stuck with me. I think it was always something like, I'm not supposed to do that because the way I grew up or where I grew up. I'm not supposed to do that because it's dangerous. But for me, it was almost like I almost missed out, or I felt like I missed out on the confidence and the learning lessons that getting on something that can, in effect, can kill you, but giving you the ability to instill your own being with confidence to do something that maybe either shouldn't do or is dangerous or whatever. That control. So fast forward many years, get my education done, started making a little bit of money, and I had a friend, a best friend from mine from high school, a couple years younger than me. He bought a 72 CB 450, and he was really into all of a sudden he was into this cafe racer culture, pompadour and wearing black t-shirts and tattoos and all that stuff, and I didn't even really know that I wanted to do anything like that, but he's like, you should buy a motorcycle, change your life. I mean, literally that's exactly what he said, and I remember it very succinctly. And for some reason that reignited that memory that I had as a child of like doing something that you shouldn't do or you weren't expected to do. And so I started doing a little bit of research and figuring out, I wanted to do something outside my comfort zone, and this seemed to be a good opportunity and a good fit. I had a friend that was doing it, so that's always makes it a little easier when you got somebody nudging you along. But growing up, high school years, young adults, I was always like into British stuff, British blues, Britpop. Music was a big thing in my life, so I always kind of steered towards that kind of Anglophile type behavior. And I started looking around. I'm like, what do I want to get? I knew I didn't want to buy Harley. Nothing there's wrong with the Harleys, but I just didn't want to do the mainstream thing. I always wanted to do something a little bit different. And I remember there was a Triumph dealership in Philadelphia near where I lived when I was in dental school. And I knew what a Triumph was, but I didn't really know anything about it. You know, I knew they made cars and I knew they made motorcycles. And that was around the time, mid-2000s, where Triumph was starting to get a foothold in the United States after coming out with the Bonneville, you know, the new Bonneville, if you will, when they were kind of reinvented. And so I started looking at, you know, new bikes, and what I ended up doing, I found a vintage bike. I didn't even know how to. I bought a bike. I didn't even know how to ride it. I think back to that, and it's like, what am I doing? So I bought this Triumph. It was I had to drive about 3.5 hours to get it. The Kickstarter was broken. I didn't even know what a carburetor was or where it was. And I drove around that period of time looking for something to buy, and I had met this guy north of Columbus that had this 76 Bonneville for sale. I went and looked at it. I didn't want him to buy it, but he's like, "Are you into British?" And I said, "I don't know." And he opens up his trailer, and then he opens up his little shop. I mean, he's literally like a mobile home behind a farmhouse. And there are like 6 exquisitely restored Triumphs in there, all different colors, reds and blues and golds. And I just was like, this is what I need to do. And I looked at that, I looked at those bikes, and they, to me, for some reason, at that moment, it hit me, these things are the most beautiful machines I've ever seen. And I buy this bike a couple weeks later, and I called John, his name was John, and I called him back, and I said, "John, I don't know anything about this. Will you help me fix this bike and get it running?" So I would rent a trailer at U-Haul and drive up north of Columbus. I did that, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, and I would spend like most of a Saturday in his shop, and we would just go through the whole bike and fix the Kickstarter spring and, you know, rebuilt the carburetors and just anything that, because, you know, I didn't even know anything about this bike. I mean, it was really nice for what I was able to purchase at that time. And then I went and took the motorcycle Ohio class, because I'm like, I don't even know how to ride. This seems to be the safest way to learn. And then the last time I went up there, we took the bike down off the lift, and I started it for the first time. I mean, I literally didn't even know how to start it, you know, until that moment, like going through the whole process, turn the gas on, prime the carburetors, couple kicks, turn the ignition on, go. And I rode with him for the very first time up at this farm that he lived at in Columbus, and I've been hooked ever since. And it was like Dave said, the smells and all that stuff. I mean, and I dove in head first as I did better and better in my career. I acquired more bikes. I think the saddest part of my journey, though, was about a year after I got that bike running up there, I see an ad on Craigslist for a bunch of Bonnevilles for sale, and I'm thinking, oh no. And I called the number, and I got John's wife on the phone, and John had passed a number of months earlier, and I was kind of floored, because this guy who was a retired cabinet maker, I was, like I said, 32 at the time. I might as well be a teenager in his eyes, but he didn't know me, and he helped me. And that's what this community is about. I mean, I didn't know anybody in this room, and now I know at least half of you from the 10 years or so I've been doing this, and it's gave me some purpose beyond my career and my family. It's a hobby. It's something I love. That is my 65 TR6SC right there. And when I look at that, I just get so excited. I'm looking at it right now. It's just all that chrome, and gosh, it's just a beautiful machine. But more important than the bikes is the community and the people that I've met along the way. People like John, who helped me out early on when I didn't know anything. And I love doing stuff in town with all of you people, and I think we have a great community here in Cincinnati, and I'm really blessed and happy to be a part of it. I don't think I really have anything else. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you listening.
If you have had a Mikey or a John in your life, can you please just do a little raise, do a little cheers to those folks that have inspired you? And there's really nothing like a gateway bike, right? Like, we've all been warned about gateway drugs, but there's really nothing like a gateway bike to get you started into this. Am I right? All right. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming up here and telling your story. It's amazing.